Molly is repping all of the tweets coming in from Cowboys fans who are
Yeah, we just got
outraged.
a live reenactment of what
Yeah.
it's like to be a Cowboys head coach.
So hello and welcome to All Four Quarters, your one-stop shop for news, views, and overreactions to all things NFL. This week it's prime time. It's the biggest of the best. It's the NFC East.
Woo.
So hey, we've got Connor here and we got Sean.
Hello.
How are we getting on, Sean? How's tricks at yourself?
Not too bad now. Just back. We had the draft up in Dublin, the fantasy draft at the weekend. So it's good to see people, even though it was a million degrees inside an apartment that is a notorious hot box.
It
So
was
that
it
was
was
fun.
a it was a tough day to have 10 to 12 people drinking in that tiny
We
apartment.
we got through it very quickly. It was definitely a good incentive for people to not dawdle over their
Yeah.
picks. We got it done in record time. But no, it
No, it
was
was
good. It
good.
was
You
good.
feeling good about
Good to
it?
see. As I said at the time, I think I started well and I ended well, but a little bit in the middle, I kind of lost myself. The running back talent thing just kind of dropped off a cliff, and I was kind of scrambling a bit, and took me a few rounds to get back in my groove. So it's not the best draft I've done, but it's solid. I think
Hmm.
the NFL.com thinks I'm going to have a 3-win season, so we'll see about that.
Well,
But
that's normally a good sign. Their algorithm thing is normally
it was
notoriously
like
bad.
it was one of those really passive aggressive things. It's like he picked 3 wide receivers with lots of room to grow, as in they're a bit shit, but they're just young. I think it's McConkey, Flowers, and I can't remember the third one is. It's just guys who I expect to have serious improvement from previous years. So
Yeah,
yes,
and to be honest, like look at where
NFL.com.
McConkey was last year. Look what the Flowers did last year. Like if they improve at all, if they just stay where they were last year, you'd be relatively
Exactly,
happy. Like
exactly. Yeah.
but no,
So yeah.
it's good. I was pretty happy. I have one or two bits that didn't fall my way, but overall, I was very pleased with my setup now. So we'll see. I think I will have to do a little bit of wheeler dealing, and as always, I've refused to draft kickers and defenses, so I will at some point have to look into that. But I'll figure that out closer to the time. No point in picking them now. Similar to yourself, I had the NFL draft, been out playing a little bit of golf and chilling out and just trying to survive in this god awful heat that we had for the last 2 weeks. But no, it seems to have cooled down now here at least, so it's a bit more livable. There's been a bit of news since we were last chatting to you guys, so we'll fly through that. So over into controversy corner, Bengals first round draft pick defensive end Shemar Stewart, who we've mentioned previously, is still in a standoff over his rookie deal. We discussed this language that they want to put in, essentially allowing them to void guarantees in the contract, and then use that to set the standard for how they'll do future contracts. Tough spot to put the guy in. I don't like it, but he is all the way back down in Texas now. He's not at the team facility anymore. He's at Texas A&M doing workouts now. Certain sources were reporting this as being that he was training with the Texas A&M college football team, and discussions obviously quickly swung to, can someone go back to college at this stage? Apparently, it looks like likely they could, or at bare minimum, if they threatened slash did sue the NCAA, they'd be allowed to play because obviously it would be unrecoverable years otherwise, and so on. But look, it's not going great. I don't know why the Bengals haven't stepped down from this yet. It's just very, very silly. But from what I understand, he's just using their facilities to train because he happens to live down near the area or something like that. But like Sean, are the Bengals ever going to just be normal?
Well, that is the question. I mean, it's the kind of the subtext to the whole Joe Burrow era. They finally have the ultimate franchise quarterback. They have star wide receivers. They have a team coming together, and yet the organization just can't seem to get out of its own way in terms of the various hiring mistakes, and in this case, getting dragged into a contract holdup with the guy. I mean, he can't be that important. I mean, I know first round draft pick or whatever, but clearly he doesn't want to play for the Bengals. And even if they managed to get him to sign some sort of contract, I don't think he would be a particularly good person to have in the locker room. I think it is interesting from a kind of the college football perspective, because obviously what's happening here is that to a certain extent the changes in rules about college players being able to earn money in college through NIL and such like has kind of changed the dynamic a little bit. Because the sense
Yeah.
I'm getting from what I've read is that Stewart can afford to do this because he made a lot of money off in college, so he could even sit out the entire year if he wanted to. and then try and come back either post 2026 draft or get the Bengals to waive his rights so he could be redrafted by another team. So it's interesting. It's not something that say could have happened 10
Yeah.
years ago in that kind of
Unless you were like a
scenario.
dynasty family, like what happened with the Mannings and so on, and the threaten to hold out and so on.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
like it's a mess overall. Like to be honest, I wouldn't have any problem with this guy coming in and joining. If anything, he's helping out because him doing this, like if he says yes, that means every first round rookie that goes into that organization after him has to accept these terms because they're established terms. And like I think they're bad terms. I wouldn't accept them. But also particularly like the rookie pay scale has been effectively just fully fixed at this point. So like it's not even that it's a large amount of money. We're talking about over the course of the first 4 years, I think it's something like 18 or 19 million, which is obviously a lot of money, but like in NFL terms, that's not like that's a single year of a post-contract wide receiver or a single year of a offensive lineman if they're halfway decent. So like the idea that they want to have conditional clawbacks in year 3 and 4 if he gets injured or I don't know he gets in trouble or something like it just seems they're fighting over pennies for all this disruption. Like it's stupid to me.
yeah, I think Stewart. There's a quote. He actually said something like he accused the Bengals of wanting to win arguments instead of winning games, and
Yeah.
you do kind of get that sense from it that there is a weird principle they're trying to hold on to here, which obviously they're not going to win in the long run.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah.
they've backed off some of their previous ones because it used to be obviously they were famously a bit of a cash strap franchise, and they used to um, not want to give out large sums of money up front. So like even if they guaranteed money in a contract, it would only be coming in year 2 or year 3. Like they wouldn't put it into signing bonuses and stuff. And obviously that hurts the players because they can't, accrue interest or invest or whatever with that money. But like they've stepped off that for some of the deals that they've done recently, not fully, but like Chase got a bit more money up front and Higgins got a little bit more money up front than they would have otherwise done. So I just it's a silliness. Hopefully by the next time that when we're on to our NFCs, it won't be done by the NFC North one, but it might be done by the NFC South one. Hopefully, we'll see. Teddy Bridgewater, do you remember him, Sean? Teddy Two Gloves.
I remember. Yeah, he was such an elite quarterback. Yes.
He was. He's been suspended from high school coaching after spending his own money on student athletes. So it's
No,
okay for
this.
the college players to make money, but not for the.
It's a slippery slope, Connor. It's a slippery slope. Um, It's. I mean, this one's a real. This is what's broken about Americanness to it. So this is a guy who's. I don't even think he's officially the coach. I don't think he's actually employed in an official capacity. I think he's just wants to help out the team, and because he's had an NFL contract and therefore has a bit of money in the bank, he's willing to do things like pay for like Uber rides or meals for the team or recovery trucks if they get a breakdown and stuff like that. Like this isn't corruption in any kind of meaningful way that a human being would recognize. This is a guy who wants to do well by a bunch of kids. And suddenly, I mean, the fact that so the thing that really gets me is that he openly confessed this. Like it's a self-reporting. He told the school administrators this is what he's doing, and he gave them all the various information and receipts. So they're investigating him for something that he's already confessed to doing. I just think it's ridiculous. I mean, it's a sign of the problem is obviously this is a huge funding problem. These kids and these high school football programs are not getting enough money. These are disadvantaged athletes. I mean, one argument is being made is that this happens all the time in private schools, so why can't it be allowed
Yeah,
in this particular context? So,
yeah,
I
because I
mean, I
think
think
the
Teddy comes out of this as a Teddy comes out of this, as a shining knight and kind of a good reputation. But it speaks to a real legalistic culture in America and the kind of inequality that we all know is kind of festering underneath the surface of that country.
Yeah, like it's very very silly because he's saying just like things like he spends about $700 on Uber fares to try and get the kids around to and from practices and things like that. Like it's not like it doesn't sound like he's out like kind of tempting people to move school districts by offering them 10 grand or whatever, Like it's just
Yeah, yeah.
and then yeah, as you said, there's just kind of a funny little legal thing where Teddy maintains you can't suspend him because he doesn't work for them because he left to go and be a backup for Jared Goff in the playoffs. So he stopped being the coach at that point. So it's just a little bit like how can you suspend someone who doesn't work for you? Very strange, because the suspension's coming from the high school, rather than rather than from the whatever the organization that oversees the high school level is. I'm actually not sure what that one is, but it's America. There's probably about 14 of them.
I'd say it's a state. There must be a state body. I'd say, but
Ah,
anyway,
yeah, yeah, probably
not
probably
important.
state bodies overseeing each of them. Yeah, fair enough. But yes, good man, Teddy Bridgewater. Good man. This is dumb as shit. Crime and punishment. What are they doing? Probably felonies. Yeah, quite possibly here.
Actually, well, technically, this one was a misdemeanor, so yes.
Yeah, but that was that. But they can change it. They can up the charges afterwards, can't they? Or something
Yeah,
like
if
that.
the evidence suggests that it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's
So
a felony.
Cleveland's rookie running back Quinshon Judkins was arrested and charged with misdemeanor domestic battery after an alleged incident with his girlfriend. This was not meant to have happened just immediately now. It was meant to have happened a couple of weeks ago. The story from the girlfriend is that she initially didn't want to report it, didn't want to jeopardize his career, and was worried potentially about some blowback about it. But then, having spoken to friends and so on, she decided that she had to report it, and she went off and did so. Um, she apparently still had the bruise on her chin, face area from getting punched, and then there was additional kicks and punches to the arms and legs as well. Yeah, overall, if this is true, he'll fit right into fucking Cleveland, won't he?
Yeah. God, yeah, they're building a real rogues gallery over there. It's only
Mm,
a matter of time before they just assemble all of the the worst of the
yeah,
NFL's pieces together. I mean this. I mean it's. Yeah, I do hope that the Browns or the NFL at the very least clamp down in a very big way. I mean the reports of visible bruises, the story of the kinds of things he did in terms of hitting with a closed fist and stuff. It's just like it's not on. And this guy being a rookie means that he's likely to not get the kind of protection that more established players do. I
yeah.
kind of feel like maybe the Browns will feel they need to make a statement, or the NFL will need to clamp down on this. But certainly, I think this kid is going to get in a lot of trouble if the allegations are proven to be true.
You gotta imagine the Cleveland guys are like, look, we finally did it. We bit the bullet. We kind of said hands up on the Deshaun Watson thing, and then this happens to the rookie running back they bring in. Yeah, like if this is true, he's obviously going to be in a lot of trouble. I believe the discussion at the NFL level at the moment, when we're that he is potentially going to get suspended in advance of the season until the criminal investigation has taken place. But we haven't got confirmation of that yet, so we'll obviously we'll update on that in a later episode and let you know what's going on there. I believe they drafted another rookie running back, so they've probably kind of turned more to him at this stage. But yeah, other news: injuries. LA Chargers running back Najee Harris decided to go all JPP and gave himself a firework-based injury on the 4th of July. Now, it's not quite Jason Pierre-Paul level. He hasn't blown fingers off. Apparently, it's a superficial eye injury, is what's being reported. He's expected to be game ready, but obviously one just to keep an eye on because I think they would at this stage just be reporting he'll be game ready regardless. But yeah, the trick here, guys, is don't be letting off fireworks. They are dangerous and will explode on you.
Um, I mean, I think it's just really stupid from his own point of view because he's entering a new team. He's facing competition from high caliber rookie running back.
Yeah, Hampton.
Jim Harbaugh is no nonsense. He's probably going to be fit for the season, but he's going to miss out on a lot of training camp. So, in terms of reps, where he ends up in the depth charts, all these kind of things are affected. So, yeah, just don't do stupid things when you're sitting on massive contracts
Yeah.
and trying to break into a new team. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like yeah, like, he wasn't even a massive contract. I don't think was he? He's about 4.5, 5 million or something. Like okay money for a running back, but like that's not breaking the bank. Like if they don't think he's fitting in, he'll just ride the pine and be a backup. And to be honest, he's getting on in years. We'll see what he does. There's been a couple of extensions, so we'll move from older players trying to wake their way into rosters to younger players who have now locked their places in. The Jets in what's a somewhat interesting move. So they brought in we discussed we discussed the Jets already. So like they obviously have new coaching staff coming in, and it's sometimes a bit of an oddity to see the first thing that a whole new regime does is start locking down players from the old regime, but they can see the value in these guys. They are happy with them, and I think it quite bodes quite well for the Jets overall that they were able to get these done, have these guys out talking to the media about wanting to be Jets for life, and also to just not have like people holding out and so on at this stage when you're trying to bed in a new identity to the organization. So cornerback Sauce Gardner gets 4 years, $120.4 million. The point four is very important. That makes him the highest paid cornerback in history. And Garrett Wilson, their wide receiver, gets a 4 year, $130 million contract as well. Now, these are early contract extensions. So, as much as we say the highest paid or whatever. Like these are tacked on to the two existing years on the contract, so it actually works out a bit cheaper. So these the Jets actually have these guys under contract for 6 years, which is quite a long time. So Garrett Wilson, obviously quite an ascended talent, has performed well in his first 3 years. In the league, or first 2 years in the league. Sauce Gardner, heady heights at the very start. As a rookie of the year, I believe, and a contender for defensive player of the year. Coming off probably his worst season so far as a pro ball player, but they see the value in him. They obviously want to lock him down, and it, we talk about this a lot, Sean. If they're right and he's going to fit their scheme, like these sound like quite expensive. 4 year, 120 million. It's actually like 6 years, 145 or 150. So like more like 25 million average rather than 30. And in 3 years' time, that's going to look very cheap on this market if these guys are performing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting kind of statement of intent because these two happen quite within days of one another, and it's obviously lock down your offensive young starlet, lock down your defensive young starlet, make the statement of we are going to build on this young core that we have. We're going to build from within. We're not going to be throwing money away on stupid free agencies or trying to attract the wrong people as they have done. It's very much a conscious attempt to say this is a new regime and we're going to do things right. And as you say, they've locked down two very big talents. I mean, Gardner, yes, didn't have the best season before, but he's a real talent, and I think it definitely allows the Jets and the secondary of the defense anyway to build a lot of kind of clever schemes, knowing that they have a corner who can kind of at his peak kind of be a lockdown guy, a guy you can always rely on to get things done. I think that opens up what the Jets can do defensively. So I think it's a very good move in there. And Wilson, I mean, it's for a guy who's gone through, I think, 7 different QBs in the 3 years that he's been with the Jets, he still managed 3 consecutive 1,000 yard seasons. And you think about not just the QB turnover, but the coaching turnover, that demonstrates a real talent. I mean, even a situation where it was clear last year that Rodgers didn't have a lot of time from the very start, but within a few weeks he was becoming the guy that he would rely on to throw on because he recognized the talent straight away. So it's kind of a huge lockdown. So Wilson, I believe, is currently the fifth highest in terms of the money would be making the fifth highest paid wide receiver. But again, as you say, in 4 years' time, that will be that will be dwarfed by what the market offers. I think they're getting a really good value from what these kids can offer. But I think what really stands to me is this is the Jets at least attempting to say this is a new era. Let's forget the mess of what's happened past years. These are the two best young players we have. We're going to build around them, and this is step one of the long way back, basically.
Yeah. And the other bit of news on the extension front, Kansas City have locked down a long-term deal with guard Trey Smith, a 4 year, $94 million contract with 70 million guaranteed. Um, yeah, this makes him the highest paid guard in the league as well. It was an interesting offseason. Again, we've kind of already covered Kansas City on the last podcast, but essentially they decided to let Joe Tooney walk. They decided to bet on the young guard instead in Trey Smith. It was a Pro Bowl, but maybe wasn't his strongest season overall. This is a chunky contract. The Chiefs are locking quite a lot of money up in this offensive line, and I suppose, look, you got to protect that quarterback. You do what you do. Um, Overall, this is obviously a positive. They kept him and franchise tagged him with an eye to try and get this type of deal done. Because if they didn't, he'd be on a 1 year, $24 million contract. So this is, it's not much cheaper than that would be, but it locks him in, keeps him in house for a while. Obviously, they've got Creed Humphreys locked down as a top paid center. They've got an expensive right tackle, and then they've kind of rookies uh, and kind of lottery tickets on the left hand side. So we'll see how it works. But Trey Smith, good guard, locked down for a good amount. Um, yeah, as long as he stays healthy, I think they'll be happy enough with that outcome.
Yeah, I mean it speaks to continuity. Obviously, they've changed a little bit. They've had kind of two ins, two outs in the offensive line this offseason. So trying to lock down the good pieces they have, as you say, beside Humphreys. I mean that's the key. I mean, I kind of get the sense that offensive lineman play is all about consistency and knowing the guys around you. And if you have someone that you can trust and someone the quarterback trusts, then you absolutely need to give them the amount of money to hold on to him.
Yeah,
Especially with the Chiefs coming off a bad Super Bowl loss, they want to build something
yeah.
uh,
Well, sure,
stronger this year.
we had
Yeah.
we had a guard playing tackle for 8 weeks last year. Like it was the line was a serious problem, and I think that the hope with these kind of things is obviously they got the highly touted rookie in the first round coming off the injury, and the hope would be if he can lock down that left tackle side or even take over on the right tackle side, that's a huge saving for the first 4 or 5 years, and then that you kind of balance the books that way. But you gotta hope that they hit on that kind of side of things. Okay, so let's go into our previews, and this week we're looking at the NFC East. So first up, we have the Commanders. I'll chat about them. Last year was a big surprise. We were expecting them to be decent. We were not expecting them to go as well as they did. 12 and 5, NFC Championship loss versus Philadelphia. That they were taking it to them for the first half and then kind of fell apart a little bit. It's interesting because I always think that these types of off seasons are quite difficult to approach because I got to imagine that when we have a plan with a rookie quarterback and we start to bring him in, like Dan Quinn cannot have been looking at this and expecting, well, we're going to become a contender in year one, and then we really just have to try and round out the roster in year two. Like that's never what the plan is with a full staff rebuild and rookie quarterback, but that's where they are. So what they've lost this year off the defensive line, there's a good few guys gone: Jonathan Allen, Dante Fowler, and Michael Walker. Defensive back, there's a lot of changes as well: Jeremy Chin, Benjamin St. Juste, and Michael Davis gone. And off the offensive side, a couple of wide receivers: Dynamic Brown, Olamide Zacchaeus, KJ Osborne, Jameson Crowder, and off the line Cornelius Lucas. Um, but they kind of picked up a few bits as well, which kind of some of this I really like and some of this I don't. But I get that some of this is just, well, we have to move a little bit differently than we would have maybe in a 3 year plan. Laramie Tunsil they get for a song after a poor season down with the Texans. Hopefully he can get back to the level he was beforehand because he was the kind of guy, the franchise left tackle in that kind of younger market below what you'd get with the 49ers and so on. So he could maybe get back up there. They add a rookie in Josh Cornerly to get in there as well, and Nate Hedbig. So they're kind of hoping that they might be able to build out that line a little bit and give them a little bit more protection, particularly given Daniels likes to hold the ball a bit. At wide receiver, they bring in Debo Samuel, which I don't love. I was of the opinion that Debo was getting a little bit long on the tooth anyway beforehand, so we'll see. But they're not paying him a huge amount of money. It's okay. Rookie Jalen Lane comes in. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, the rookie running back, is in, and then Josh Johnson's now the backup quarterback. And on the defensive side, they've added a lot of people. As you would probably guess, I named 8 or 9 kind of starters that are not there anymore. So they've added Javon Kinlaw, Dietrich Weiss to the defensive line, Trey Amos to the backfield. He's a rookie. Jonathan Jones, Will Harris to the defensive backfield as well. And at linebacker, they've added Jacob Martin and the rookie Kane Medrano. So the big thing that used to always happen in the NFL was a sophomore slump. It used to be that rookies would come in, they'd play kind of normally a half read or half field read system. They'd do quite well because they'd be fast and fresh and there'd be no game tape on them. And then they'd have a sophomore slump where basically there's game tape on them. People have figured out their tendencies. They're normally trying to do a little bit more with the offense. We did see a sophomore slump last year with the Texans. So can Daniels avoid that? They are obviously bringing in the pieces to try and protect him here. They brought in Laramie Tunsil, who I think is an upgrade at left tackle. The rest of their line is not fantastic, but they have brought in competition. So Nate Headbig is meant to compete at the guard spot. The rookie Josh Cornerly might take the right tackle position, but we'll see. I think Andrew Wiley's probably got that locked in unless they kick him inside. And Tyler Biadasz is a fine center. And look, he has an established relationship with Daniels, so that's fairly okay, right? Brian Robinson at running back is okay. Austin Eckler is as a backup. They're hoping maybe that rookie is going to come in and push a little bit. Terry McLaurin is a great WR1. Debo Samuel, like I said, I'm not sold on. But to be honest, maybe in a pure WR2 kind of spot might show a little bit more value, not needing to be focused as much. They might be able to do some fun design stuff. Like I look at this and I go, Cliff Kingsbury, what kind of stuff did he like to do in college? Oh yeah, he could do a lot of fun things with Debo Samuel. But then I go, well, he could do a lot of fun things with Debo Samuel 4 years ago. I just want to see how healthy Debo is, how quick he is out in the field now. Zach Ertz is still a reliable set of hands at tight end, even though he's a little bit older. And then you got a mess of other people trying to push in there. So like Noah Brown, John Bates, the rookie Lane, and so on. So overall on offense, I think they've improved. I think the line's a little better. I think they have a few more exciting weapons behind Terry McLaurin because Terry McLaurin was basically all this offense last year. Um, and I would like to see a little bit more running back, but maybe this Krosky Merritt guy will be able to help out there. But overall, I think they've done a good job of bringing in the pieces to help support him. I don't like the story threads that are coming in of Laramie Tunsil like was there to see the flop of of the Texas side. So he's the second year, third year quarterback killer. But I think that'll be fine. The veterans are obviously here to try and piece together a defense largely in this spot because it's not a very impressive on paper defense, is it? Like last year, it was very rough and tumble. They would have little streaks of like a quarter where they stood up well and then just kind of went. Deron Payne is a pretty decent guy on the D line. Javon Kinlaw is more name than game at the moment, but we'll see if he can kind of get himself restarted here. Dietrich Weiss and Cleland Farrell are your other pass rushers. Like neither of those fill me with a lot of hope. The linebacker core has a lot of good names in it, but again, a little bit over the hill. Bobby Wagner is there, Frankie Louvu is there, Mike Sandstrill, and they've brought in some guys. So they've got like the rookie Medrano and Jacob Martin's brought in to kind of try and pressure in there a little bit. And then the back end was a problem. Marshawn Lattimore is not the player he once was. Maybe he'll be a little bit further away from the injury and a bit better, but he's at that age where like it's rare to see a cornerback up their game coming off an injury at that age. Obviously Trey Amos is meant to come in at cornerback two spot as the rookie. He's up against Jonathan Jones for that spot, so they've kind of got three startable guys, which to be honest is okay. Safeties Harris and Martin leave me a little bit to be desired, and I'm not sure fully what to make of Joe Whitt at the moment. So that kind of worries me a little bit. The hope really for them, where they were getting gashed late in the season, was the run game, and you can see with Javon Kinlaw and Dietrich Weiss coming in, they are kind of hoping to plug that a little bit. Those are big guys. Like you can get pass rush out of, but like they're big dudes. Jonathan Allen is going to be decent enough size shoes to fill, but I think overall, I'm kind of happy with it. I would have liked to have seen them do a little bit more on defense. Like they brought in a lot of people, but I think yeah, they just didn't have the either the money because they're carrying on some contracts from the previous ownership, or the capital maybe to go out and get the guys that they wanted. Because like what you want are decent contributing level players. You want like guys in the 65th percentile, and that's what's missing off this. There's a lot of guys at 50. There's a few spots, like particularly that second edge rusher spot, that's way below it. But there's just a lot of age and question marks on that defense. And if something's going to hold them back this year, I think it's going to be that. But I'm ready to strap in and enjoy Daniels again this year. I think he was really exciting last year. I think he has traits in his passing that are things that you can improve with an off season quite quickly. Um, And yeah, I'm quite excited to go watch these guys. Speaking of, I will be watching them in person as well because I'm going to go see them in Madrid. But overall happy. I don't think they've done enough, Sean, to push over the edge into being a Super Bowl contender, given they were in the NFC Championship. I think it's quite possibly unlikely they make it to the championship game this year, but I think they are sitting nicely as a team that's going to make the playoffs, barring injury, and be competitive in the playoffs. Like that's what separates them from, say, the Cincinnati Bengals of yesteryear and so on. This is a team that you don't necessarily want to run into in the playoffs.
No, I mean, but it's also a team that you don't necessarily think are going to go on a run, kind of like they did last year. This kind of feels what they've done in the off season. Kind of really feels to me like an attempt at continuity rather than trying to escalate. That this is a team that's not saying, "Okay, we got this far. We're just not as good as the Eagles. We need to find a way to get better than the Eagles." This is a team that's going, "I can't believe we're this good. Let's try and lock this down before we can start thinking about things like Super Bowls." And I mean, there's a certain smartness to that. I mean, what happened last year was unexpected on a lot of grounds, and they certainly seem to have found in Jayden Daniels, if he holds this together, a real talent, a proper franchise quarterback going ahead. And now that we're in the kind of the post Snyder era, and we don't think the Commanders are going to sabotage themselves in terms of what happens in the organization, this is a smart move, right? This is a smart move to try and let's just bring in a few veterans, kind of steady the ship, and make sure that this thing doesn't end up being a fluke. Um, so what may happen, which is kind of a weird thing, they probably will not win 12 games. I imagine they probably are expecting something more around 9, 10, 11, which will feel like a regression, but oddly it might actually signify that they're further along in their journey, that the weird spike is now turned into a plateau that they can kind of build on going forward. So it's going to be kind of a weird vibe where Commanders fans maybe don't expect that next season is going to replicate, but they want to see something that indicates that the best parts of last season are moving forward well. With Daniels in terms of sophomore slump, I mean, I would lean towards optimistic. He's got a lot of good efficiency stats. He's very good under pressure, which is something that rookie quarterbacks tend not to be, which is a good sign. It shows that he's mature and he's a quick thinker. He's got a diverse skill set. He's kind of not got the problems that you would expect someone who enters a sophomore slump to have. He seems that he's got the versatility, the maturity, the field reading skills to overcome the ways that people are going to try and figure him out and run specific schemes against him. So I'm not necessarily worried about Daniels. I don't. I mean, I have a lot of like sentimental like for Debo Samuel. He's a great talent to watch, but you're right. He is at least 3 years now past his prime, and I don't think he necessarily adds the kind of the spark that maybe that they need. That he does add another option, and certainly with you've got McLaurin with Ertz, Noah Brown. There's certainly he adds an extra option and will expand the playbook and what they can do. And as you said, it allows Cliff Kingsbury to do some interesting things with say a kind of different kinds of plays, wildcats and trick plays and such like. So that'll it'll be interesting to see how they open up, and they will have to open up the playbook. As you said, this is one of the big challenges: is how do you move from the simplified rookie set into something that is more kind of NFL robust? And I imagine Debo is designed to be a part of that, to take a little bit of pressure off Daniels by creating this wild card that can just do things on the field, at least in theory. So offensively, I think they should be in a decent place. I think that they will be able to build on what happened last year into something solid. I guess the real question is the defense, and as we talked about, the run defense in particular was a bit of a weakness last year, and you can kind of see that what they've done is attempted to fit that, literally, as you said, fit big bodies in the way to kind of plug up those gaps in a very literal sense. And I've also, you read some of the stuff that's coming out of training camp, and there's talk about the coaches wanting to build more in a 3-4 direction rather than a 4-3 direction in order to focus on that interior to try and prevent the runs through the middle, kind of force teams to come up with alternative run offense strategies to kind of beat them. So they certainly seem to have the right ideas about what they need to do as a franchise moving forward. Solidify, build on the offense, kind of create more diversity, try and avoid that sophomore slump. and on the defensive side, fix the one thing that's not really working. And I think they've done that. And I think in that sense, we should have something like a successful season from them. I think they are a playoff team. I think they're probably better than the Cowboys, which is the big competition for us. Like they're not as good as the Eagles. They're not going to win this division, but they should be able to eke out ahead of the Cowboys to get second spot, and that will probably be enough for a wild card spot. But whether they win their wild card game when they'll be on the road again, who they run into the divisional and who they can beat them there. Those are a lot of questions which don't necessarily suggest that they're going to have the same season they had last year. But it's good. It's not ambitious in the sense of win now, but it's ambitious in the sense of we want to create a team that's going to be really in a good place in 4 or 5 years time when they move on to the next cycle, when they move on from these veterans and bringing in now to hot young talent and integrating them into a properly functional playbook. That's when the Commanders get very dangerous with Daniels under center. So I'm liking where these Commanders are. I'm liking to see what sparks from last year are still there, how Daniels deals with teams being more reactive and smarter about the style of play that he plays. I'm not expecting fireworks, but I am expecting a solid team that does well, which when it comes to the Washington Commanders or their previous iterations is not a thing you could say every year. So they're certainly
Mm.
in a much better place than they historically have been. And if I'm a Commanders fan, I'm looking forward to what the next 5 years of being a fan offers.
Oh yeah, and you know that every win is just another tear rolling down Dan Schneider's face, and that just it's beautiful. That's why I'm giving them 11 of them, 11 and 6, good for the sixth seed, and they make it to the divisional round but don't make it through.
I've got 10 and 7, which is sixth seed. I see them going out in the wild card.
Oh, sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
it fits as them at 10 and 7, which is fifth seed divisional as well. So we all see them as
Yeah,
wild card playoff teams, but how far they get there beyond that is a question. We don't see them going to the NFC Championship again.
yeah. Next up, Sean. Here we go. Uh, Cowboys. They were 7 and 10 last year. It was a bit of a disappointment. How are they looking?
Yeah, this is the one that everyone's tuning in for. Our ratings are going to spike now that we're finally talking about the Dallas Cowboys.
Just before we get into
Um,
it, Sean, did you notice a thing last year that I noticed? The backup
Go on.
quarterback last year uh, copied Dak's cadence to try and avoid any issues with the center and so on. So he was just constantly going, "Here we go," and it just sounded incredibly stupid.
Well, I mean, it's from the sounds of it, they worked so hard on it that it was such a big problem with Dak that when they finally fixed it in terms of the cadence, I guess they were very conscious of not letting it go. Um, but in a general sense, I mean, the end of the Mike McCarthy era in the Cowboys, hard to really put a finger on whether, can it be called good? They had three consecutive 12-win seasons, but they also just bombed in the playoff multiple times. And last year, when Dak goes down injured, they only win 7 games. So I don't think he'll be remembered fondly by Cowboys fans, is what I would say. Um, and certainly things are moving on. So on the coaching side, Mark McCarthy's out. Mike Zimmer at DC is out, replaced by Brian Schottenheimer, the OC getting promoted. Matt Eberflus is in at DC, Clayton Adams in at OC. So big changes, a little bit of continuity, a little bit of something new. Okay, so coaching, changes afoot. We'll see how they go. In terms of the changes on the offensive side, they're bringing in offensive lineman Robert Jones, Tyler Buckey, the rookie, Ajani Cornelius, the rookie. Wide receiver George Pickens is probably the biggest one from the skill positions. They're also putting Paris Campbell in the wide receiver. Running backs Javante Williams, Miles Sanders, Jadon Blue, the rookie. Not entirely sure how that running back room is going to work itself out.
One of their
That means
legs has to work, right?
someone there has to get some touches, surely. Who's left then on the offensive side? Zach Martin, offensive guard, Chuma Edoga on the offensive line, running back Rico Dowdle, Brandon Cooks, wide receiver, Cooper Rush finally bows out the stage, and the Trey Lance journey continues. On the defensive side, they brought in Dante Fowler, Donovan Azikaraku, the rookie, Solomon Thomas, defensive lineman Peyton Turner, linebacker Kenneth Murray, linebacker Jack Sanborn, defensive back Siobhan Ravel, uh, defensive back here Elam, leaving Demarcus Lawrence, Linval Joseph, Carlos Watkins, Chauncey Golson, Eric Hendricks, and Jordan Lewis. So the changes are mostly on the coaching side, except for the big addition of George Pickens and a complete rebuilding of the running back room. So the question they got to ask firstly is the Schottenheimer thing, right? You're promoting the guy who your offensive coordinator who at his peak when the Cowboys were in a very good place in 2023, they were the best offense in the league in terms of points per game, but that goes down injury and the offense regressed in a very big way um, due to those woes. They didn't have the kind of flexibility to move beyond losing Dak Prescott. So, how does that move forward? I mean, obviously, the offense will be something quite similar to what it has been before. There's been a lot of talk about it being quite a dull offense because Schottenheimer loves his run heavy play calling to try and limit the effectiveness or save the effectiveness of Dak Prescott for certain moments. So a lot of pressure then falls on this running back room to kind of get their shit together pretty quickly and actually turn into something. Personally, I do have a little bit of hope that maybe Jayden Blue will turn out to be something because I did pick him up in the fantasy draft because I just looked and went, well, there's no RB1 here, so maybe the random rookie can be the RB1. And certainly we've seen times before with the Cowboys have just randomly turned up a rookie quarter running back that's been pretty good for a couple of years. So it'll be interesting to see how that does. Does Schottenheimer, now they'd have Dak back, does he try and build a more pass-heavy game, or does he try and get the same level of runs out of what is not a particularly talent-deep running back room? Uh, do they simplify the offense to gain effectiveness? It's going to be interesting to see. The fans are going both ways in terms of this promotion. Predictability, yet he has shown that when things click, and him and Dak Prescott, he did a lot of work in just fixing the Dak Prescott problem, simplifying the cadence, getting him to actually, speak to his center about what was going on, getting the timing right. That did an awful lot of things. So it will definitely come down to what this offense evolves into from Schottenheimer's point of view and how well that rapport with Dak continues to click. A lot of that then will depend on what George Pickens adds. Obviously, this is an offense that relies very heavily on CD Lamb for its offensive production. Pickens comes with something of a reputation as a talented player. I'll give him that. He certainly will. He's certainly good enough to be a WR2, and he comes he's got a pivotal contract year, so he has to impress. And he maybe hasn't shown all he could be. Pittsburgh, we saw bits of talent there, so I think that can be a potent 1-2 combination, and certainly can work. And the reports coming out of camp are absolutely great. They say that Prescott and Pickens are in a very good place, and things are coming together there. It's still quite middling, though. I mean, it's a strange misfit on the offensive side that you have all the talent on the passing side, but you've got a head coach who's very consciously a run first offensive guy. I mean, that is the big question of how they square that particular thing is the big thing. Now, on the defensive side, I mean, this is probably where they need to really take that step up. If they want to beat the Eagles, okay, you can see this offense clicking and maybe becoming a solid 25 points a game kind of team on the offensive side, but they're not going to win games unless the defense do something. And they've really tried to build in the trenches. I mean, in terms of the line, the retirement of Zach Martin, departure of Tyron Smith, these are big things that have to be replaced. They've shown that they can't really beat the Eagles on the line, is what we've seen from the kind of the in-season games in the last few years. So they really need to fix that particular part. Bringing in a veteran edge like Dante Fowler, I think is very good for depth. I think he can be an explosive player. I think that they brought it in, but they've still got some things to work on the defensive side in terms of the talent. I think they've got deficiencies on the defensive line. I think they've got deficiencies around linebacker, defensive back. I don't think this is a team that quite has a defensive talent to compete with someone like the Philadelphia Eagles. So it's going to lean quite heavily on Matt Eberflus doing his thing. I would say the jury's still out as to whether he's the guy. The Cowboys have a real tendency, this is obviously Jerry Jones things, to lead into known names. If Jerry Jones has heard of the guy, he's more likely to hire him as a coach, I think, rather than necessarily the best option available. So but I think they defensively, if they want to talk about getting back to the top of the NFC East, they're going to have to do an awful lot of improvement on the line play, in particular, and just in general from that. So, what does this all mean in the end up? This means it means we don't really know, right? This is there's an uncertainty to this Cowboys team. This is a team that's now I think it's 30 years since they've more than 30 years since they've been to a championship game. I think they are now
Yeah.
the one team in that whole era that hasn't. I think every other team, or most of them anyway, have made it to a championship game. And it's the Cowboys, they're America's team, huge reputation. This is a team that's been underperforming for literally a generation worth of Cowboys fans. Is Brian Schottenheimer the answer? I would lean probably not. I think he probably has got a lot of his opportunities in the NFL due to his surname. I don't necessarily think there's an awful lot of joined up thinking in terms of how the coaching and the talent on the offensive side clicks together. And on the defensive side, I don't think they're quite solved the problem. I think they've worked towards trying to solve the problems that they obviously had, but it's very much clearly we need to be better than the Eagles in this one area that they've kind of focused all their recruitment on. And it's not necessarily sure that they've really done an awful lot in the general sense. So they'll be better than 7 wins because Dak will be, if he stays healthy, will make this offense work. But whether or not they make the playoffs, whether or not they win this division, whether or not they actually make an impact in the NFC will be very dependent on how quickly this defense comes together under Eberflus and how quickly they overcome their talent deficiencies in certain spots.
Yeah, no, that's very fair. Here, Molly is repping all of the tweets coming in from Cowboys fans who are
Yeah, we just got
outraged.
a live reenactment of what
Yeah,
it's like to be a Cowboys head coach
but
from
yeah,
Molly there.
no, it's I kind of agree with a lot of what you're saying here. I have very similar concerns. So yeah, like is Brian Schottenheimer the coach to take you over the edge? I don't know. Matt Eberflus, is he the defensive coordinator to pull this ragtag together? I think the offense will work because I'm not one of the guys who thinks Dak Prescott's a top five quarterback, but I am one of the ones who thinks he's actually a better quarterback than he gets credit for. Which I think seems to be a recurring theme with Cowboys quarterbacks because that was pretty much Tony Romo's deal as well. he, he hasn't had the playoff success and stuff that they want, but is better than maybe when your initial first thought is about it. I like the addition of George Pickens because I think they've been crying out for proper WR2. They've been trying out loads of people at that spot and it hasn't worked. I think Pickens will work there as long as he can keep his head screwed on right. Jake Ferguson at tight end is fine. I actually quite like Luke Schoonmaker, who's I think he's a second or third tight end there as well. And the line is, look, the line's worse than it was. That's just going to happen. Their hope is if Brooker can step in as the rookie and kind of solidify that right guard spot, like he gets on well with Cooper Beebe, Tyler Smith is grand at the left guard spot, and you're just doing the build from the inside out thing. Left tackle's a problem for them, but overall that offense should work. Defense, it, like you said, it's just Micah Parsons, really. Like it's Micah Parsons and maybe Dante Fowler or maybe the rookie Ziraku can do something on the other end. But like, yeah, then like a fairly piss poor like linebacker core. Like you said, some names rather than games here. Like Solomon Thomas, I don't think is a game changer that they're hoping for. Their defensive backfield is very boring. Like it's just kind of I just don't see it on the defensive side. So I think we're going to see a more explosive offense and a defense that can't keep them in games, and it's just going to end up in a kind of a middling outcome for them. So like I've got them. They were 7-10 last year. I've got them on the more positive side. I've got them going 10-7, but coming eighth in the NFC and missing the playoffs entirely.
Yeah, I have them 9-8, which again is the eighth best team in the NFC, just missing out. I think they might scrape bottom edge of the wild card. I do not expect them to win this division, and I expect they probably will win more than 7 games. But I expect Cowboys fans will be up in arms again this time
Yeah.
next year about this team not going anywhere.
Yeah, well, I think and I think you're dead on. Like the thing that's lacking here, the thing that would give them down the stretchness maybe is getting a better running back room. And like maybe Jaden Blue comes out and is actually brilliant, but like Javonte Williams is coming off a knee surgery. Miles Sanders looked fairly washed last time we saw him. Like it's just yeah, it's not great. But look, you coaching staff, year of turning the boat around. We'll see what happens. Wow, yeah, I picked all the good ones this week, didn't I? I've got the Giants up next. So the Giants are up. They were 3-14 last year. Uh, it was not great. We will say it was not great. Um, they've had a complete clear out at the quarterback position. So Danny Dimes left in the middle of last year. Drew Lock is gone as well, and so is Tim Boyle. In their place, we get the absolute chaos combo of Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, and then the rookie Jackson Dart, who's going to be on the outside looking in for a bit, but I guarantee we'll see the field this year at some point. Um, like it's interesting. I think we discussed this previously when we heard about these signings at the very start that like this feels like a team that is coaching to try and keep their jobs. Obviously, it's not been a successful period in the Giants. They're a little bit slow moving, but like, Brian Daboll was brought in here to, QB whisper Danny Dimes to being better, and that hasn't worked. He's now got his rookie in Jackson Dart, and he's got two more veteran guys who will be entertaining at least to kind of keep the pressure off and let him be able to develop the guy a little bit. So we'll see how much that plays into some of the decision making when how far they want to protect this rookie quarterback and so on. Um, because I'm going to walk through a little bit of their schedule and we can kind of pick at what point you're going to start benching people because it's a real tough schedule for them this year. On the defense side, they lost Aziz Ojuari, Isaiah Simmons, and Patrick Johnson, the linebackers, as well as Matt Adams, linebacker, defensive back Adoree Jackson, and James Pinnock, the DB as well. They added Paulson Adebo, Javon Holland to the defensive back crew. Abdul Carter, the rookie, is now on that defensive line alongside Chauncey Golston, Rory Robertson Harris, Darius Alexander, another rookie, and linebacker Chris Board. From the offensive side, they lost offensive lineman Chris Board. I think I've got that listed wrong, and Gunnar Orlowski. And they've added James Hudson, Marcus Mabau on the offensive line, Mabau, a rookie, and Stone Forsyth, along with Cam Scatterbo, the rookie running back, and Zach Pascal at wide receiver. So obviously, this starts and ends with who's the quarterback. I believe Russell Wilson will get the start the season. Then I think they will turn to Jameis Winston, and then Jackson Dart might come in. But the problem is they're going to have to try and protect him, right? So Sean, this is the opening couple of games. Tell me the point that I,
Right.
I don't know if I want to say win or pull a quarterback, which happens first.
Oh God,
Commanders, that's
that's a
not going well
loss.
for them. Cowboys, that's not going well for
Probably a
them.
loss.
Chiefs, that's not
Yep.
going well for them. Chargers, that's probably not going well for them either.
No. I'd be
Saints,
starting. Yeah, the Saints is either the moment they decide to pivot to Dart, or he just wants to get a win on the board
yeah.
at that point.
I
Yeah.
think they might. I think they might pivot to Winston there because also Winston has some history with the Saints. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
but
that could be a thing.
the thing is, it then goes back to getting the absolute crap kicked out of them because next up then is Eagles, Broncos, Eagles again, 49ers. So
Jesus,
like that is
they could
that
legit lose their first like
yeah.
9 games
And that's
easily.
why I'm like, you're not putting Jackson Dart in if he has to go back to back Eagles, Broncos, Eagles, 49ers. Like the guy's done then. So like it doesn't really soften up until the very end. And even then it's not great. Like they just got a rough draw this year. Like maybe you put him in at the start of December, play him for December. He gets Patriots, Commanders, Vikings, Raiders, Cowboys. That's the best I can see. But like if he's trying to train this guy up and protect him, I think it's later on in the season we see him. Like that's a tough call to make. I wouldn't want to be the guy trying to make a decision on that. The rest of this offense as well is still a little bit lacking. So we've got Tyrone Tracy, who is like he was okay. He was better than we maybe expected, but he's not a bell cow running back. They've added Cam Scatterbo, the rookie, who's going to eat into some carries, but again, I'm not sure he's a bell cow kind of guy. And then you got Devin Singletary there as well, so it's not a great running back room. Malik Neighbors is a baller. We saw that from the get go. So you've got a great WR1, but like Darius Slayton is your next up. Theo Johnson's your tight end, or maybe Bellinger pushes in there. Wandale Robinson and Jalen Hyatt. Like none of this is filling me with a lot of hope. And then your offensive line is Andrew Thomas is good, and everyone else is fine or bad. Like Runyon's no good, Van Rotten's fine, Illuminor is fine. Like this is not an exciting offense. But Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston are a pair of quarterbacks who will go a little bit mad and will fling the ball around and will give you excitement and will give you a chance to do things. Because this is a team that has quite a nice looking defense at this stage, right? Their front four or the front three, I suppose, is a mixture of you've got Brian Burns, who's good, Dexter Lawrence, who's very good, Nunez Rochez, who's fine. I think last year I said, "Oh, he's on this team." I didn't realize. Again, what? I didn't even remember he was on this team. Darius Alexander, the rookie's trying to push in there, and you got Abdul Carter, the rookie, and Kayvon Thibodeau. So like you've got pass rush, you've got a lot of guys, you got depth. This is like what the Eagles did 4 or 5 years ago, where you just bring in a lot of guys and you have a lot of rotation, and that's pretty good. Their linebacker core is fine, but not particularly outstanding, and the back end of the defense is again fine, but not outstanding. I'd maybe like to not see Paulson Adebo in there, but like they've got guys to rotate around. They might find something in it, and Shane Bowen did an okay job. Like that's fine. So the Giants have an okay defense, and I think it's a defense that's going to get better because there's a couple of rookies in there who are gonna level up. The offense is a problem, but will at least be a bit explosive. So I think they've got a defense that could potentially keep them in a few games if they just had a fairly solid run game and a reliable quarterback game. I know it's not going to like, probably make you the playoffs ever, but like that's an 8-win team. Like that's the Steelers essentially for the last couple of years, you know. But Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston are random number generators who are going to make it exciting, but also make it unreliable, which also means you are as likely to score a touchdown as you are to have to put your defense back on the field after they've had like 2 plays of rest. And that, I think, is what's going to be the killer for these guys. They could have a brilliant defense, but if their defense never gets off the field because the offense keeps turning it over, that's a massive problem. And there's only so many snaps in rapid succession a defense can have, no matter how much depth you get to rotate on that defensive line. And then, as I said, so if you want a little bit more solid, you want a little bit more reliable, a little bit less up and down, maybe you look at Jackson Dart and you say, yeah, do you know what? We've got the rookie up to speed. Like he knows how to run the offense. He knows basically just to throw it at Wilson and then like hand it off to some of the running backs. But then you look at this schedule this year and you just go, what, like when the season's over and you still have to play at least 2 playoff teams during that run, like this is this is going to be a far more exciting season for Giants fans. It's going to be way more enjoyable than what you had over the last 2 seasons. Your defense is looking pretty good. Uh, you've got the rookie to train up. It's going to be more fun, but you're not going to win a lot of games, I don't think. Like this is not set up to be a winner. And I think it's going to be really hard for the Giants to assess at the end of this season, has Dayball done enough to keep his job? Because I'm not sure what they're going to be able to take from this, unless Jackson Dart comes in week 7 and hits the ground running, because you're in a division where you're looking across at the Commanders and you look at what happened with them last year and their rookie, and, you know, owners, they're billionaires, they're attached and whatnot, but like, they go out to dinner together and they don't want to see the guy across them kind of laughing. Like, look what success they had with him. So I think there's going to be pressure, particularly if they're, as I said, possibly like 1-6 in the season, to be like, why are we playing old man Wilson and crazy Jameis? Like, put Jackson Dart in there, see what we've got, and he gets made mincemeat of by Philadelphia. So I think a success is not having that happen. eating what I think is going to be probably a low single digit win season, and developing the quarterback, adding some weapons, and then launching next year with a solid defense, an more experienced quarterback, and more than one wide receiver that you can trust.
Yeah, I think Dayball's job is on the line. I really do at this point. He combined 9 wins from the past 2 seasons. I mean, I think it's very difficult if they're looking at another 3, 4, 5 win season, that I just can't see a scenario in which the Giants higher ups can justify holding on to a guy who doesn't win that much. I mean, 2022, that one season when the Giants, were good, made the playoffs, won a playoff game, it really looked like he'd solved the Danny Dimes thing. That's a very long time ago now in NFL world, and they're going to have to produce something. And like you, I just can't see it. I can't see how a washed up Russell Wilson, the Jameis Winston experience, or this untested rookie. How any of them are going to be the solution in the most important position on the field, and the thing, if the NFL has taught us anything in recent times, it's if you don't have at least a decent quarterback, you are getting nowhere in this league. And it doesn't really matter how good your hotshot wide receiver is if you don't have anyone to actually pass to him. Um, and on those kind of scenarios, you can maybe get away with it if you have a really, really good running back or a really good running back core that you can just grind games out with. But again, I mean, Tyron Tracy is quite good, but beyond that, there isn't a whole lot to love from the Giants' point of view. So offensively, I just can't see them being able to just generate enough points to actually win all that many games. I think, and then they are kind of, as you said, relying on that defense then to step up. And then there is a lot of talent there. Let's not get away. I mean, Abdul Carter. The hype coming out about this kid is pretty much through the roof. It's going to be interesting to see if he turns out to be quite as good as people expect to him. He's got a lot of good pieces around him. Thibodeau, Burns, Lawrence. Like there's an awful lot going on in that situation. Um, and but they are, as you say, they're going to have to carry an awful lot of this load, like an incredible amount of the burden of just winning games is going to be falling on this defense doing exciting things to what are really good teams. They have to play the Eagles twice. They have to play the Commanders twice. They have to play the Cowboys twice. And as you say, they also have to play, the AFC West. They have to play an awful lot of good teams this year. And it's very difficult to see exactly where those wins are going to come from. Because even if they're playing lots of teams where even if your defense has a really good game, the opposition is still going to be putting up 20, 25 points, and that's a good performance. And then it's like, well, can a Russell Wilson offense produce 25 points? Questionable. Can a Jameis Winston offense produce 25 points? Well, every once in a while, but he's just as often to produce a 6 interception
Yeah,
performance as he
a
is to produce
negative
a
18 point
a
game. Like,
25. um, so it really just comes down to how good is Jackson Dart, how quickly can it be integrated. As you said, when does Dayball actually gamble on putting this kid in if it's not working otherwise? And I can't see it. I just cannot see the scenario in which this team gets good enough that they're saved from being in like a permanent state of emergency throughout the season. And to me, it's more a question of is Dayball fired mid-season or does he get the full year? Because I just cannot see a scenario in which this man still has his job this time next year.
so I'm gonna say I feel bad about this because I do think that like there's better bits and this defense deserves more, but I'm going 4-12, good for 16th in the NFC.
I'm wiping him out. 2-15, worst
Oof.
team in the NFC. It's going to be
Huh.
a shit show.
So I just noticed I've got them 4-12. I must have marked one of the games, so it must be 4-13. I have them then. Yeah. Uh, and
Well,
yeah,
yeah, you're not going to give him extra win. You're definitely going to give
yeah.
him an extra loss.
Ah, no, do you know what? Fuck it. We'll be nice to them. We'll give them 5 wins. The defense comes on. There's like, yeah, we'll say they beat the Patriots, they beat the Raiders, they beat the Rams, the Saints. No, 4 wins, 4 wins. Four and 13.
If you're
I,
starting
I
to
literally
reach to the
can't find it. Like,
Rams, you're not getting that
and even
big. Yeah.
even the four is hard. Like, to be honest. But look, it'll hopefully look up for you next year, Giants fans. Sean, Super Bowl winning Eagles, 14-3, dominant Super Bowl, party times. They've probably destroyed and rebuilt large swathes of the city following that. Tell us all about him.
Yeah, it's very rare to come across a team that's in just this good a shape. I mean, last season was an immense success for the Eagles, an immense vindication for Nick Sirianni, who went through an awful lot of shit, but has nonetheless proven that he's got what it takes. And they're coming into this season in a really, really good place in terms of talent, in terms of coaching, in terms of general mindset. These guys are winners now, proven winners. Philadelphia loves winners almost as much as it loves its losers. Yeah, I'm really. When trying to prepare for the Eagles, you're trying to think about, well, how do you say bad things? I mean, you could say lots of good things. You could just talk about how incredibly deep their talent pool is on the offensive side, how they have probably five game changers that they can put onto the field at any one time, and that their defense has very few weaknesses and has an awful lot of very good talented. They've got the best white cornerback we've seen in a generation. I mean, it's really hard to find kind of negatives or ways in which these things could go wrong. They've lost a little bit of depth and experience on the offensive on the defensive side that maybe it's going to be questionable of whether they can replace that. They're changing the offensive coordinator, so Jalen Hurts is going to have to go through that whole thing again. I can't remember the number of offensive coordinators he's gone through. I think it's four that Jalen Hurts has had in his time in the Eagles, so that's going to be interesting to see. So maybe they don't necessarily have all the depth everywhere you want them, but it's very hard to see anything beyond that. So let's really break this down what we're looking at. So on the coaching side, Kellen Moore out, Kevin Patullo in. I believe he's an internal promotion, if I'm correct. On the offensive line, Kenyon Green comes in, Kendall Lamb comes in, Matt Pryor, Drew Kendall, rookie. They brought in tight end Taylor Granson, tight end Harrison Bryant, rookie AJ Dillon, and DTR something Robinson. I can't even remember the guy's name anymore. Thompson Robinson
Dorian
in
Thompson Robinson. Yeah.
as quarterback. Players out on the offensive side: Mekhi Becton, Fred Johnson, Nick Gates on the line, Kenneth Gainwell. Paris Campbell is gone. Tight end Uzamoa. Kenny Pickett waves goodbye. Defensive side, a little bit more of changes. Milton Williams is gone. Josh Sweat is gone. I think that's going to be a big loss. Brandon Graham is gone. Bryce Huff on the lineback. Oren Burks is gone. And in the back end, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Darius Slay both gone. Avante Maddox, Isaiah Rogers, and James Bradbury, who they brought in a little bit, not an awful lot of kind of immediate talent standing up here, and an awful lot of rookies. So Jihad Campbell comes in, rookie linebacker. Smail Moden, rookie linebacker. Patrick Johnson comes in. Edge Aziz Ulijari, edge Josh Ush, defensive line Ty Robinson, rookie, and on the backfield Andrew Makuba, rookie, Adoree Jackson, Mac Williams, Avery Williams. So there's definitely a step back in terms of the talent on the defensive side, and we don't see that kind of really, really dominant defense we saw last year. But this offense is so good. I don't even know if it makes a difference. I mean, you think about the ability at any one time to be able to call upon Saquon Barkley to do a run, Jalen Hurts to do some, fancy stuff, or he can just throw to one of his two elite wide receivers in Brown and Smith. And you've got Dallas Goddard, really solid tight end. You've got pretty much, flawless offensive line protecting them as well, highlighted by guys like Malata, Johnson, and Cam Jurgens. So they're just going to score so many points. Like it's very hard to see, even with a new OC, even with that kind of disruption, it's very hard to see them not scoring just an immense amounts of points that makes up for anything that happens not so well on the defensive line. So you've got Sirianni knows what he's doing. You've got a internal promotion in Patulo, so the stability, continuity there. There's maybe there again. There's maybe is a little bit of a worry about depth that if they happen to have an injury crisis in which say multiple players go down, maybe Hurts gets injured, maybe Barkley and Brown, something like that, then you're in a little bit of trouble. Of course, they still have the tush push, so they're still going to find a way. Every time they get a 3rd and 1, you're pretty much guaranteed a first down. So there's just yeah, there's an awful lot to like on the offensive side. On the defensive side, it is going to be a little bit rockier. That's for sure. Now they do have talent, young emerging talent. I think it's expected that people like Nolan Smith, JLX Hunt will assume larger roles. I mean, it is also need us remind ourselves we got Vic Fangio as a defensive coordinator. So he knows what he's doing. He knows how to use pieces. He knows how to get the most out of his players. They've been talking about rotational strategies in order to make up for the experience. So you just keep young players, fresh, dynamic young players, and rely and you lean on that energy to make up for the fact that maybe the guys aren't the most experienced or that you've lost that kind of experience therein. And they've still got a lot of strength. Jordan Davis, KJ Henry, Mordrew or Jomo. There's an awful lot in this team, even on the defensive side, to still work. So yeah, I'm really struggling to find where this might go wrong. Is the thing, and it's very rare to say that to look at a team and go, man, I'm trying to figure out how this team might actually lose any games or what might go on. I think an injury crisis or something like the weird debacle that happened internally 2 years ago when it all kind of fell off a cliff because everyone was infighting is possibly a way it's going, or the shift on the defensive side towards younger talent doesn't quite work out, and maybe the system doesn't click perfectly. But even then, they've still got an offense going to win an awful lot of games. So I find it difficult to look past these guys both in terms of the NFC. I mean, certainly in the NFC East. I mean, nobody's touching them in the NFC East. In the NFC in general, it's difficult to see how even teams like the Lions or the 49ers or whoever can keep pace with them. And even in the locked and loaded AFC, is there a team better than the Eagles? I'd argue there probably isn't.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, like to be honest, they're pretty good. They are a pretty good team. Uh, their offense is top shelf at almost every position. Like they could maybe use a guard, they could maybe use an upgraded tight end. But if your weak spot is Dallas Goddard and everything else is above that, you're doing pretty well. And they do actually have a rookie in to try and compete, as well as a few other linemen who are brought in to compete. So like, yeah, on offensive side of the ball, the Eagles are going to be just fine. Um, Now we don't know Kevin Patullo. Yes, he's an internal hire. Does that mean he has new ideas he's going to bring, or are they going to try and trot out the same thing? I think you do need to see some evolution year to year as teams will kind of key in on what you're doing right and wrong. So like maybe that happens, but that's the only knock I can really see on the offensive side. Defensive side is a lot weaker than it was, as you said. There's still a lot of quality players here, but it doesn't have the depth it used to have. It's got a bunch of rookies, so G.I. Campbell and Ty Robinson in particular are going to be key elements to them keeping that linebacker core or kind of the second level of the defense right, because like there's now weak spots on this defensive line. Um, you know, Jelix Hunt, Elise Ojawari, Josh Uche, people like this, they're not barn burners. Like this is not the Eagles roster that has 7 or 8 depth at linemen who can just rotate in and out anymore. They're going to need to be more design packages. And Vic Fangio is a good coach, but he's older. He's a bit stuck in his ways sometimes. So like, there's a risk there. The defensive backfield, Cooper John and Quinion Mitchell are good, but outside of that, like Reed Blankenship, Sidney Brown, like people like that don't fill me. Like they brought in Adoree Jackson. I know it'd be more of a rotational piece, but I don't know. The hope there is the rookie Makuba kind of comes through as well. It's fine, but their defense isn't there the way it was. And again, I would kind of look at it and I'd be recency bias. I'd just be like, yeah, no, everything's going to be fine. That's going to be completely okay. Now, my dog Loki in the background is giving us live tweets from Eagles fans as I'm about to turn negative.
Responses to the
Yeah,
Cowboys fans from the Eagles
yeah.
fans. Yeah.
The thing we have to remember is this is a team that, while it performed well and does have good stuff, was incredibly flaky and incredibly up and down throughout the season, and like lost a lot of games that, or nearly lost a lot of games that they kind of just about looked out of. Like you say, they're definitely going to win this division. I expect them to as well, but like they lost to the Commanders in December last year, you know? They nearly lost to the Rams in the playoffs. They nearly didn't make it through the divisional round, you know? Like they 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 have problems, and they're incredibly streaky, I think, emotionally as a team. And if I was to point a risk to this team, so look, I've got them winning double digit games, I've got them doing very well and so on. The risk I see to this team is there's a reason that we didn't like the head coach, right? There's a reason that we had a problem with Sirianni. And there's a reason that the locker room had a problem with Sirianni, and they had to have other people step in to manage those relationships. And you know when they disappeared? They disappeared when they won a playoff game or two, and everyone was like, "This is great. We can just ignore it and party through." But if they hit any touch of adversity, like Nick Sirianni to me comes across as an absolute head case who doesn't know how to manage things when things don't go right. So he's fine as long as everything is good. If they hit in any way a kind of a slow start or a difficult run of games, like I'm not sure he's the guy to actually turn it around. And they've got a difficult slate. Like they open with the Cowboys. I think they're at the Cowboys. Then they've got the Chiefs. Then they've got the Rams, the Buccaneers, Broncos. Yeah, Giants, Vikings, yeah, like Packers. This is it's a tough enough start. Like if they drop two or three and the heads go down, I Sirianni's won his second Super Bowl, or no, it's this was his first Super Bowl. But like I still don't rate him that highly as a head coach, to be honest. Like I really don't. I think he's good at certain things, and I think he'd probably be a fantastic offensive coordinator. I don't think he holds the locker room as well as he thinks he does. And if there's a risk to this season going poorly, it's the defense not being as strong, him getting pissy, him blaming Vic Fangio for that, them getting a bit infighty and everything falling apart. Because I think they're fearsome, I think they're talented, I also think they're quite fragile. That said, I also think they're going to win 13 games this year. I have them getting to the NFC Championship.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? It's even if everything goes wrong, this team is probably still going to win a lot of games. So I
Yeah.
have them repeating last year in all ways, 14-3 again, number one seed, all the way to the Super Bowl and to win it.
Very exciting. And for posterity, Ronan has them at 12-5, gets them the one seed. Oh wow. He has an overall much more balanced NFC than we do. He has them getting to the NFC Championship game but losing. Overall, it's a pretty strong division. Like yeah, like when the Giants are the also ran of it, but like three good teams who'll be contesting for slash getting into the playoffs. Pretty solid. Like there's been years past where since we've been watching this sport where you know there'll be nine primetime games out of this division somehow, and they'd all be pants. Whereas now, like, you get good games out of this mixture, which is something at least, I suppose.
Yeah, it's true. If we're forced to watch this team ad nauseum, this division ad nauseum, at least there are three good teams in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And the Giants, while not being massively competitive, will be fun and chaos agents. So, so there's that as well. Very good. Well, I suppose that'll wrap us up for this week. Next week, we'll be looking at the NFC North. Very exciting times. But for now, it's bye from myself. It's bye from Sean.
Bye.
This has been all four quarters. Thanks for listening, and we'll chat to you next week.